Okay, so today we are going to talk about React state. Does someone know what is state in React?
Is it when a component changes something changes to that text?
Yes, basically is data local to a component that changes, and when it changes it's going to render the component again. And in order to do that we need a new type of component. It's called a stateful component. This is a stateless component that is, can you see the screen with a function? So far we are familiar to this. Now we are going to create a different way. So we have to create a file. How should we call the component? Movie, for instance, or fruits? What do you want me to do it about? Fruits? Okay.
Depends what you're building, just make it sensible name.
Sorry?
Depends what you're building, make it sensible name.
Anything. There's fruits. Okay. So, sorry. Fruits.js. And now we have to import React from React. Okay. So first we need to export default. And now the way to do it is with a class. So we write class, then the name of the component, fruits, and then extends. Oh, you know. So extends what? Very well. React.component. And now inside we have a function that is called render, and that returns what we are going to render. So for now, let's say just hello state. So now we have to import this component in. Oops, I have somewhere. Extends. Yes, very good. So now we have to import it. So import the name of the component, fruits, or fruit. I'll change that because it's about picking one fruit from I'll change the name fruit.js. No, not yes, sorry, like this. No. So I'm going to change the name because it's not accurate. Fruit.js.
Are you guys familiar with import and exporting things?
Yeah.
Cool.
So now we have to use the component. And how do I do it? So I open the fruit like this, and let's render it. And fruit. What? Oh, sorry, it shouldn't be here.
Be careful with Visual Studio. It sometimes adds random dependencies on top of your files, right? That was a good example.
So let's check if it is rendering. Oops, looks like it isn't. So export class. This is the reason, I think.
Where is the fruit?
Yeah, hello state.
Cool.
So in order to use a state, first we need to initialize it. And to do that, we need to use a syntax that is a bit, I don't know, not very, not something we are used to do. So it's just a boilerplate. We don't need to. What it's going to do is initialize each time so the first time the component is rendered, the first thing it's going to run is this function constructor, and we need to write super and then set the initial state. So this dot state equals to, so we want to check if this fruit is favorite or not. So we are going to create a property is favorite, and for now let's say no. Okay, so now I want to have a button displayed in this component that is going to, let's start, that is going to make the fruit favorite. So does someone know how to write a button? How to create
Open arrow
button like this. So let's say make favorite. Let's see what is being read. Oops, failed to compile. Ah, yes. So this error is because in React we need to have all the elements that we are rendering wrapped in another element. Could be a div. So let's write the div.
Why? Because you need a parent, right?
Exactly. So yeah. So this component, this element that is wrapping all the rest of the elements is the parent. Yes. And now let me format this. Yeah. And now we should have a button. Yes. But right now this button is not doing anything. And in order to make it do something, we need to first of all create a function. And the way to do it in a stateful component, in a class component, is just writing the name of the function and call it make favorite. And then like this. And then inside we just do any action we want to. So for instance, alert, favorite.
Do you know what the alert message is in JavaScript? Do you know when? Yeah, when you the box. Yeah, you know when you are browsing over some sort of illegal website to watch Game of Thrones, and you keep getting questions. Do you want to enlarge your penis? Things like that. You're familiar with that, right? So these are.
Okay, so now if we did everything, no, it's not going to work still. It's not going to work because we didn't assign this function to the button. So now we want to listen for a click, and the way to do it in React is on click in camel case, and then the name of the function. And when we want to use something in a class component, we have to use this keyword first. So this should be first, like an arrow function. This dot make favorite. Okay, and we invoke the function. So now let's check if it works or not. Yeah, it works. It's a bit small, but it says favorite. Okay, so but what we want is not to alert favorite. We want to change the state. So the way to do it, does someone know how to do it?
Is it with the compound?
Is it, sorry?
Is it with the compound? Which is the last one?
No, component dismount is a different thing. Is to
Update
update the state, we need to use a method called setState. So we just write this dot setState. We open parentheses, and then inside we just set the state to what we want. So it's favorite, yes. Yeah, like this. So I'm going to display the state here. So let's write another title, a bit smaller.
So does
H2.
anyone know how to display now whether the fruit is part of your favorite there?
Do you put the object or something? Or this make favorite? That.
This dot what? This dot state. Can you try it?
Yes, this
This dot state dot.
Make favorite?
is favorite.
Oh, this favorite.
Yes.
Will that work? Should we try that?
Let's see. So,
Oh, once again, right?
yes, curly braces. Now, no.
Cool.
So, what do you think is going to happen when I click make favorite? Let's see the code again.
Change to yes.
Should change to yes. Let's see if that happens. Yes. Okay, so far we know how to update state, but this only works one way. So because if now we click it again, it's going to be yes, yes. Imagine we wanted to switch between two values. So instead of make favorite would be something like I don't know, change favorites. So what I'm going to do is when it's no, change it to yes, and when it's yes, change it to no. So let's rename everything, change favorite. Change favorite, something like that. Okay. And now we need to change the logic here. Does someone know how can I do that? Any ideas? So basically we want to check if the state is no, make it yes. And if it's yes, make it no.
Do you need like a condition?
Yes?
So use the question mark?
Yes, a ternary, but first I'm going to do it with if, with an if statement. So basically, if,
Yeah.
if what? So we want to check if the state, so if the state is yes, change it to no. And if it's no, change it to yes.
So yes, 3 equals.
Yes, 3 equals.
Oh, but it's got to be string in it. So.
Is it if this dot state
Yes,
equals
this
yes.
dot state dot is favorite, and now 3 equals to no. Then let's put this inside. Else what do I write here? Mhm. This dot set state so is favorite, yes, is favorite, and we want to change it to no again. Oh, sorry, because it was no, we change it to yes, and now we're going to change it back to no. So, no.
Are we missing the return? Or is
No, actually, we don't need to return anything because we are just assigning the value in state. If we were like expecting some output, something out of this function, then we will have to write the return. But in this case, we are just. So let's check if this works. So no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay, so it works. So we can make it work like this, or we can use a ternary. And the way to, so let's write, for instance, let me comment this out. So let's create a variable and let's call it so I don't know if I can call it its favorite. Will this I don't know. I'll change it later if it doesn't work like that. So let is favorite. So now we want to check the state. How do we do that? So this dot state dot is favorite, and now what do I write now? True or false? Sorry? So now we need to check. We need to check if the state is no, change it to yes. Otherwise, change it to no. So we are going to check yes, exactly. So no, sorry, no, because the initial state is no. If it's no, we're going to change it to yes. Otherwise, it's going to be no. Let me. Okay, so and now if we want to use this, we need to do. So how do I update state? How did we say we update the state? So this dot set state, and then inside curly brackets, yes. And now the property is favorite, and then we just pass the variable we just declared. Is favorite. I think this should work, but I'm not sure. Let me check. So let's check if it works. So no, yes, no, yes, no. Okay. So any questions?
So this is like how Facebook does like buttons and everything.
Yep.
And states.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It's like, yeah, it's a good point. Like or favorite. You know, when you go to Tesco.com, you can add pink lady apples to favorite or whatever. Yeah. So that's the same thing.
Okay.
You can toggle. You can switch favorites on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we can add this to our app.
Yep. Yep. On Thursday, I believe, we'll do a similar workshop. We'll talk about how to add a floating menu. You know the burger menu, when you click on the menu, it slides on, and when you click again, it slides out. It's the same principle, right? In and out, with a bit of CSS. So that will be the workshop on Thursday. Can I? So,
Yes, of course.
With a yes or no, you could style those to be images that can change.
yeah, definitely. We'll see that on Thursday. So on Thursday, we'll, based on that same principle, we'll add a bit of CSS to see how to add some animations on the screen. Let me show you something. Anything else, Esteban? No? Cool. So, on top of what Esteban commented, so that, I mean, is there anyone thinking why we call set a state? Why can't we just do so something like this? Every new React developer, including myself, of course, the very first time we tried to solve the problem, what we did is this dot state dot. Oh, sorry, guys. Ignore my ability of running Windows machines. Is favorite equals is favorite, right? So, I mean, to me, that will be the most natural way of updating an object, yeah? Because at the end of the day, this dot state is an object with a property called is favorite. So, can we do that? Why not? Let's have a look. Look, it's no. When I click on the button, I broke it.
Is it because it's trying to refer to itself, but it hasn't updated itself?
More or less. Let's do an exercise. If you come to my company to do a job interview, the very first thing I will show you is I will open DevTools. You know how to open DevTools already, right? Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So look, once you got DevTools open, you will notice there is a. So let me try to zoom that a bit, or even more than a bit. So can you see the screen, guys? Cool. So if I select sources, you know you can inspect the code using DevTools. So if you go to Sources tab and you press Control P if you're a Windows user or Command P if you're a Mac user, you can open any file on your source code, which is pretty sexy. Because if I open the JavaScript file, no, that was the fruit, right? Yeah. If I open the fruit, then do you agree with me, guys? This is the source code that we've been building today. Yeah, that's the same source code. So why this is so cool? Because now we can add breakpoints. So what a breakpoint is, look, you see on the left-hand side, we got the different lines of the code. So I can click, for instance, on line number 6. You see? Pop. I can click on line number 10. Pop. And I can click on line number 19, unsurprisingly. Yeah, you see? We got 3 lines. So if you were trying to join this company to make maybe 1,200 a day, my first question will be, can you predict, you can think the breakpoints like stops on the Jubilee line, yeah? It's London Bridge, Sadek, and whichever comes next, yeah? What's after Sadek? It's Waterloo, correct. So we got, thank you. So line number 6 is London Bridge, line number 10 is Sadek, and line number 19 is Waterloo, but not necessarily on that order. So your task as a developer is to predict the execution order. So can anybody tell me, look at the sequence. I'm going to refresh the page, and then I will click on the change favorite button. So can anybody tell me the execution order, the numbers essentially? That's a bit hard, right? Because you cannot see everything. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so wait a minute. So you said 6, and then what?
It needs to check.
Wait, what's the
It's favorite.
Remember, I'm going to refresh the page. Just refresh the page.
Then
6, 19, and 10. Why is that, Vicky?
I would say yes, because
I'm just going
the
to.
six,
Yeah.
the 6 is what we have first.
Yep.
Then needs to break to stop into render.
Mm-hmm.
But the last is to show that the last, the last change.
Okay, I'm not even going to click on the button. I'm just going to refresh the page. Okay, 6, 19, and then 10, finally. So, do you agree or do you disagree with Vicky? That makes sense? Anybody disagrees on that? No? I'm sorry to tell you guys, no one got the job, right? Because Vicky is wrong. So, yeah.
It's going to be 6 because it's.
So you said it's going to be 6, and then what? All right, so now we change, we have a new solution, right? 6, 10, and then 19.
Actually, is it going to be 19 first? Because
I don't know. Well, so you said now it's 19, and then what? And then 6 and 10. I mean, do you want me to add all the possible combinations, right? We got 8 possibilities, right? Eventually. But let me be a bit pessimistic. Even if you can provide multiple answers, even if you add all the 8 combinations, you will be still wrong. That's not right. Look at the main issue is on line number 10. That function, change favorite, will only happen if I hit the button. React.js. The code reacts to user interaction. Yeah. If I just refresh the page, it's not going to hit that function. In other words, if I refresh the page, it will first of all, as Esteban explained, stop on line number 6 because deconstructor is the very first stop on the Jubilee line. So that's London Bridge. Then it will try to render, it will try to display something on the screen, hello, whatever, yeah, hello state, fantastic, that's 19, and that's it. Nothing else will happen. Let's have a look. Let me tell you something. Google Chrome is going worse and worse and worse on each version. Sometimes breakpoints completely fail. Yeah, I have different techniques. If Google Chrome ignores me, I will tend to become more and more aggressive with my actions. Yeah, I'm sure it's just a matter of time we'll have the problem. Yeah, if it happens, that will be great, because if you are on a job interview and if something as basic as adding a breakpoint doesn't work, that doesn't help. That doesn't help you to feel comfortable with the setup. Yeah. So first of all, let's refresh the page and see if it works or not. So I'm refreshing. Cool, and then. You see, it doesn't work. The code should stop on line number 6. But I hope you agree with me. If you see I'm refreshing the page and no breakpoints are hit. Yeah? The code is not stopping at all. That's good. That's literally what I told you, that it may happen. It may happen. All right. So you got, let me present you different alternatives. Yeah? So the first thing, if I'm doing a job interview, the first thing I will do is, all right, I believe that should work because of whatever reason it's not working. So I will try again using incognito. You know incognito mode?
You are incognito, right?
Say it again?
Incognito.
I'm incognito. Cool, fantastic. Sorry, what did I miss?
He knows very well to use it.
Yeah, I know you said that.
You don't know how to use incognito.
I'm identity.
All right, so yes, incognito. You can Google that afterwards. So incognito is supposed to work better. Why? Because many of the weird / unexpected issues you may have are because of all the crappy extensions you download and install in your web browser. Yeah. So going incognito means the browser, in theory, is not affected by the random extensions that you install and download from a non-trusted author. Yeah.
And cookies affect this too.
Of course, cookies can affect. Yeah, yeah.
And cache.
Cache, okay, so there are multiple alternatives. However, look, as Esteban spotted, he was already playing an incognito. Yeah, so that's not okay. Next thing I will try to do, I'm going to be now very aggressive, very rude. Yeah, but the thing is, big problems, big solutions, right? So when Google Chrome doesn't want to listen, there is a trick. Be careful with that, but there is a trick. In your code, you can type the word debugger. Debugger. All right, I can do it, I promise. Here you go. Because of a obscure reason, when you add the word debugger, Google Chrome wakes up like, oh, I'm missing something, right? We may have to add that word multiple times. But can you see the difference? On the left-hand side, you got nothing. And you got nothing because I told the browser, please stop here. Why we got nothing? Because we haven't rendered anything yet. We are just building the component. So now I can keep playing the script. So now the script is paused, it's a stop. Yeah. When you are watching Netflix and you go to the toilet, yeah, you stop the show. So then you can play it again. So that's literally what I'm going to do now. I will play it again. If everything goes as expected, it should stop. Sorry, let me add the breakpoint again. Everything has moved one line down because of I added a new line, but that's fine. Now it should stop on line number 20. If it doesn't, I will add another debugger. Yeah, you see, now it's right. So now it stopped on what we refer as line number 19. Now it's 20 because we added a new line. I hope you agree with me, right? So now it will render the page. Here you go. But as you can see, it's not stopping on my change favorite method because I haven't clicked on the button yet. So in other words, only 2 stops. Yeah, line number 6 or 7 and line number 19 or 20. So let's see what happens if I click on the button. So something you should do when you're doing an interview is try to predict. Try to predict the behavior. If you react to the behavior, to me that sometimes sounds a bit weird. It looks like you don't know what's going on, you just check the result and then you say, oh yes, of course, it returns that. Yeah, but that doesn't prove that you know what is going to happen next. So according to my theory, as soon as I click on the change favorite button, it should stop on line number 11. If it doesn't, I will continue blaming Google Chrome and I will add another debugger. But I'm 100% convinced that it will stop on line number 11. Let's have a look. Boom. You see? It works. So now, only after clicking on the change favorite button, it stops on line number 11. So now, will it stop anywhere else? Options are number 7 or number 20.
If I took it, then it's 20.
It's 20. So you believe it will re-render?
Is it wrong syntax?
That's a different story, right? That's a different story. So depending, you're right actually, you're both right. Depending on whether the syntax is right or wrong, it will stop again on line number 20. It will re-render or not. So the thing is, if the syntax is right, will it update the UI? Yes, that's right. It will change the message from no to yes, which is what we want. If you think about it, that makes a lot of sense. Every time React updates the user interface, it reruns the render method. Yeah, rerun render because we want to change the user interface. However, look, pay attention. As soon as I continue playing the script, it's not going to re-render. It's not going to re-render. That's it. It doesn't work. Essentially, it doesn't matter how many times I click on the change favorite. It will always try to do something, but that line number 11, is wrong. And because it's wrong, it won't re-render. It never switches from no to yes and vice versa. So why the syntax is wrong? Because as we explained before, that's not the way React likes to get this state updated. Instead, you have to call the setState method. I can probably get rid of the commented code. So now, let me ask you something again. After refreshing the page, how many, oh, sorry, it's refreshing again. So let me finish that. Here we go. So now I'm going to press the button. So can anybody tell me what is going to be the execution flow? Numbers?
So if you click the button.
Yes, if I click the button, correct.
So 19 is the on-click event.
No, there is no 19 anymore. You can ignore 19 because I removed some code. So now, guys, you need to be dynamic with the line numbers, right? So now, look at the blue boxes. We got a breakpoint. We got a stop on line number 11 and a stop on line number 15. So this is Chiswick and Acton Town this time. On the what is that? The blue one, the Piccadilly line.
So first it stops at number 7.
7.
Then it
Wait a minute.
yeah, so 7.
Okay.
And then I guess you click it.
Yeah.
That should be now 15, and that should go to, because it has chain breaker.
Yeah. So then what?
Then it should go to 11.
Okay. What do you think, guys? So okay. So Dagmara, you said first of all 15.
No.
No.
7. No, same as the
Okay. So you agree with him. Okay. But nothing.
But I think like keep clicking is going to be going between 15 and 11.
I don't know. I'm not going to refresh, guys. I'm just going to hit that gray button. So do you agree with Declan?
Yes, just 11.
So Vicky, you disagree with Declan and
I
Declan?
just say just 11.
Yes.
Just 11.
Just 11. Okay. So I got a question for Vicky. If you think that will be just 11, so will React re-display? Will it update the message on the screen? Do you think yes? All right, but you see that message, Vicky, is inconsistent. Because if you think that React will re-render the screen, that means it will run line number 15 again, right? All right, anyone else wants to participate? No? All right, so once again, guys, you've lost your second opportunity to get a job, yeah? It's 11.7.15. Do you want me to add once again all the possible combinations, guys? Probably not, right?
But because we click.
Yes, we click.
So once we click, it goes to the point that is the change. Yes.
Fair enough, yeah.
Why does it go directly to the render now?
Mm.
Because it's changing. Shouldn't it go like 11 and 15 to render that?
I never said that was wrong. Yeah. Cool. So first of all, the most fundamental thing. So guys, line number 7 will never ever run again. Never ever. Never ever. It runs once, just once, only once. Nothing more, nothing else. The constructor, yeah? This is where you initialize your component. So the constructor will be useful to set the default state of your component. So for instance, for Esteban, by default, the items at tesco.com are not part of your favorite, which makes sense. Do you imagine joining Tesco.com and realizing that the entire catalog of 3 million products are part of your favorite? That wouldn't make any sense at all. Yeah. So you have to explicitly add the elements to your favorite list. Yeah. So that's the first thing. So construction will only happen once. So let's just ignore it forever. So now the discussion is, will it run 11 and then 15? Will it run 15 and then 11? Just 15? Just 11? 11 44 times? That's the thing, right? So listen, when you click on the button, first of all, it will run the function. That's the first thing. So first things first. Regardless of what happened next, as soon as I click on the button, here you go, goes to 11. Yeah, that's the first thing. And now the important line here, that line is wrong, you can ignore it, but line number 12, that's the key for success. Whenever you call set state, you are telling React, hey, I want to change the user interface. So which action do you think Facebook will trigger under the hood?
Line 12.
Second?
Line 12.
Yeah, but once we trigger line number 12, once we call set state, what will React do as a consequence of calling set state?
Render.
Exactly, that's it. Because we call set state, we're telling React, hey, I'm changing the state. That implies I want to get my user interface updated because I've changed something. Yeah. In other words, every time you call set state, React renders, yeah, and then updates the message. Once again, if I click on the button, it will stop on line number 11. Here you go. And now, because we'll be calling in a second set state, React will re-render. Yeah? One of the sexy aspects of modern debugging is that you can inspect the value of the variables you are dealing with. For instance, if I hover the isFavorite value, you see, it's spoiling the new value of your component. At the moment, on the left-hand side, it's still yes. You see? Still yes. However, look at what you got on the right-hand side. Based on our business logic of switching on and off, the new value of isFavorite will become no. So as soon as we call set state with the isFavorite value set to no, React will re-render, and then you will see in a second, as soon as I click the play button again, the value will change to no. Here you go. Does it make sense? Any questions? No? That's React state. That's arguably the most important aspect of React. So it's absolutely vital to master it. Yeah. So if you want a personal suggestion, every time you create a React component, play with it. Do this type of things. Yeah. Add random breakpoints and try to predict the behavior. Yeah. You won't get a job if you are unable to explain the list of stops on the district line without hesitation. Yeah, that should be straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1, whatever. Yeah, so keep practicing with it. Just one final word from my side. This sort of classes, stateful components are a bit weird. Yeah, if you've done any backend language like Java or things like that, or C#. You may know that in these languages, developers have been using classes for decades. Yeah? However, JavaScript has been historically speaking against classes. Classes were not introduced until 2015. Many heavy JavaScript developers, and I include myself on that list, we are against classes. So we try not to use them. And it goes beyond the scope of this session to explain why. But the reality says that we are against classes. Because we're against classes, we try to find an alternative. Yeah? So we will see in a future session how the JavaScript community has tried, and actually is getting there, has tried to get rid of the classes when working with React.
And then we can use the other class that is easier in the other state. Component that is easier.
Yes, we will see in a future session that we can achieve the same behavior using just a function, which is, I hope you agree with me, much easier. So dealing with functions essentially simplifies the development process in two aspects. First of all, it will feel much more natural dealing with on click, on hover, on scroll, on mouse enter, things like that. Yeah, hope you agree with me. This syntax, it's a bit weird. Yeah? On click, open parentheses, arrow function, call another function. Yeah? I mean, for now, just get used to it and just do it like that. But that's not very natural. The second and clearly the most important advantage of functions over classes is, as you will have noticed, you have to type the word this dot many times. Yeah? That has evil consequences in the long term. It's very hard to keep working with this object. We will talk about that maybe on the very last workshop of the bootcamp, because that's complex. It is complex, but that's the way JavaScript works. Yeah? So thankfully, because of functions, we can completely get rid of the lexical this object, and that simplifies your life massively. If it helps, on the last summer, we ran a React challenge like the one you've been running at least once with 40 senior React developers in London. Yeah? They ran the advanced level, of course. Literally no one created a class. All the guys work with functions. Yeah? If you are curious about that, the key word here is hooks. You may have heard about hooks. So hooks are the answer from the JavaScript community to all the dozens of thousands of Java developers moving to JavaScript and trying to bring their Java techniques to the JavaScript world. Yeah? But that's a separate story. So we'll talk about functions in the future. Also, if you are curious on the Codely platform, you got at least one topic on intermediate, I believe, about hooks. So feel free to start practicing with them. Anything else? You may be thinking, wait a minute, if functions are so cool, if they are so sexy, why the hell are we learning this? Because historically speaking, and when I mean historically speaking, I'm talking since React was first introduced in 2014 until many companies still today, that's still the most popular way of handling the state. So it will feel very weird if you will know how to create a state using a function, but you are unable to manage the state using a class. So you have to learn that, even though it's not ideal. And personally, I never do that anymore. Yeah. But once again, if you join a company, you just need to follow their guidelines. Yeah. Anything else? No? Cool. That was it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Esteban.